Peggy 18.
Hi, my name is Daniel Platt. I'm a lead level designer on War of the Vikings, and my Steam name is Kirk.
I'm Adam Timén, and I'm a level designer at Fat Shark, and I do both game balancing and level design here. And my nickname is also Egil Skallgrimsson in game.
For War of the Vikings, we were going for kind of a more, I guess the word is visceral brawler. Like would have more action and more choke points and more, basically force people to get up close and not have this comfort zone where they have a lot of wide open space to move around it. So you want people to have to go through the enemy, kind of. And I kind of think we've achieved that. I like that. I like it. Often we kind of choke people in, or like have a bottleneck that you have to kind of go through, or the like, and you basically force either you hang back, or if you want to get those kills, you have to get in the kill zone or the fray, so to say. And that's very Viking-ish in my opinion. Yeah, of course we have like sniping spots, but often they're in a position where you kind of have to get in an uncomfortable area.
Because so few battles were properly documented from the Viking era, we decided to give the maps in War of the Vikings very descriptive names, such as monastery or forest, so you can really expect what the maps are about before you actually play them. And as opposed to War of the Roses, where the maps had names based on actual locations, this has allowed us to focus a lot more on gameplay rather than historical accuracy. So the main criteria for a level right now is whether or not it's fun to play, and then in second hand it's whether or not it's historically believable.
We have daily testing, and the team is very competitive, I have to say, so we play on a high level, or we try to at least, and I think a lot of issues come up then with the levels, like this spot might be too good or too easy to defend, or this spot is too irritating to fight, and if it's too tight, or so I think we've done some good work with that. Lots of daily testing and just rigorous playing it over and over and getting the balance right.
With the larger levels, we really wanted to reflect the real reason to why the Vikings were in the British Isles, which of course were the raids. And so you can expect to see a lot of villages, ships, and of course crosses and stuff like that. We also worked a lot with verticality for these levels to really enhance the feeling of partaking in a siege. So the attackers tend to find the defenders waiting for the battle on higher ground.
Arena maps are like smaller, more intense experiences compared to Pitch Battle in War of the Roses, which was kind of like it has suspense in a way, but we don't get that instant gratification of it, and that's really fun with the arena levels, I think. And they're often very tight experiences where you're forced into the fray immediately, and there's no real hanging back or hiding, basically. You have to get in there. In comparison to larger levels, arena levels, the small things really matter, like a box in the right place or a wall there will make all the difference to the next round. So you really have to fine-tune this, like the location is a meter there or a meter here. It doesn't really matter if that crate is over here or over there in a large level, but in a small level it really makes an intense difference, so I like that. I think one of the biggest challenges, and one that we're still overcoming, is the balance between ranged and melee. You have to balance two wills, like archers have to have a good time, but melee has to have a good time as well, and if you make one of them, often they are players that don't play the other class very much, so they won't have much sympathy for the other class. So it's a hard balance, and we're working on that really hard, and I think we're getting there, but it takes a long time to get through.
We spent a lot of time trying to identify all the archer hotspots on these larger levels and solving them, or really mitigating them by adding obstacles rather than cover. And what I mean is that you really want to force archers into vulnerable locations where they can get flanked in order to get the broad line of sight that they're trying to find. I think it's really important to give both dedicated teams as well as solo players an opportunity to catch opponents off guard if they don't react fast enough to rush tactics and so on. And all the arena levels have some kind of cover which really obstructs vision, and this allows players to anticipate where their opponents may come from. Say, is it from the left, right, above me or behind me, and how many are they? And this leads as much as possible to the metagame, which is, in my opinion, the most interesting aspect of a PvP game, such as War of the Vikings.
I think the most fun part is when like you just sit down in a team and you just like dish out, okay, what do we want here? We get an artist in and we get like we get a few gameplay guys in, like what do we want here? What do we want to get out of this? And we think, oh well, we can, yeah, forest level might be cool, and it's just like where you have the whole wide open space of whatever you want to do. So you just have to kind of imagine these Viking environments and what could we get in there? What could we get in the forest? We can put in runes and kind of rune stones and maybe something else like that. So I think that's really cool how you can just like the imagination process of it, sitting in a group of guys and just coming up with ideas. That's been the most fun, I think. And of course, like responding to gameplay feedback. I think that's always fun when you're mounted with a challenge, like, oh, this place is obviously unbalanced, and you have to kind of solve that, muck stuff around, and yeah, make sure it works. That's a fun part, I think, as well.